So we're gonna start in down dog. And for down dog, hands are somewhere around shoulder distance. Tuck your toes under and then just lift hips toward the back. In down dog, I like to focus more on my chest, coming back toward my thighs, then turn to the side for this. Rather than having like knees really straight and thinking about heels toward the floor, I like to relax in the knees and press back from there. Those little scrunches I could fit on the screen, but that's the idea. From down dog, deep breath in. Think about lengthening your spine. As you exhale, think about everything pushing back toward the wall behind you. Hips toward the wall behind you, belly toward your thighs. Let the head relax. We're gonna take a deep breath in, take the right leg high for 3-leg dog. Bend that knee, and you can either tip open toward a scorpion or just do some hip circles. Get a little movement in there. Last one, unwind. We're gonna sweep that leg straight forward to a low lunge. So it doesn't matter how many stutter steps your foot takes to get there. Plant that foot, drop that back knee. Hands are gonna come to your thigh and lift up. Deep breath and think about lifting in the chest. Exhale, think about sinking the hips forward. And depending on whether you're already warm or not, if you're still pretty cold and feel kind of tight, you can hang here. If you're a little more warm, maybe arms come overhead. Exhale, sink in. We're gonna take hands either to that thigh or to the floor and just shift weight back. Breath in, shift forward. Breath out, shift back. One more breath in, shift forward. Hands can come overhead if you want a little bit of help with balance. Hands can come to the thigh. We're gonna tuck that back toe under. Just lift back knee up. So now we are in a lifted lunge. Again, hands can be on thigh or arms can come overhead. Exhale, hands to the floor. Step that back foot forward. So you're in a standing forward fold. Feet can be right next to each other or hip distance. We're gonna let the top of the head hang toward the floor. Hands can either be on the floor or holding opposite elbows. Just think about relaxing. And again, in my forward fold, I have a really soft knee. That's a big bend in my knee. My belly is on my thighs. That is more of the focus than straight legs and leaning forward. Long breath in. Let's just roll up one vertebra at a time. Inhale, arms are gonna come overhead. Exhale, take a baby back bend. Just lean back a little. Inhale, lift. Exhale, flat back to that forward fold. Breath in, hands come to shins. Exhale, forward fold. We're gonna step back to that down dog. Take a couple breaths here. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, think about shifting back. When you're ready, breath in, lift that leg high for 3-leg dog. Either tipping back for scorpion or rolling through some hip circles. Releasing into that scorpion for a second before exhaling, sweeping that leg through. Again, it can stutter. If your foot plants here and you shift it forward with your hand, great. We're gonna lift up to kneeling. Deep breath in. Exhale, shift hips forward. And if you're feeling pretty tight, hands are gonna stay here. If you're ready for a little more, inhale, arms can come overhead. Exhale, fingertips to the floor, shift weight back. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, shift back. Inhale, shift forward. Hands can stay lifted overhead or can come to the thigh with that back toe tucked under. Lift up into the lunge, arms come overhead here. Deep breath in. Think about everything lifting up, reaching up. And as you exhale, sink shoulders, sink hips. Fingertips to the floor. Step that back foot forward into a forward fold. I'm just shifting backward and forward on my mat so you'll have the right view from the camera. You can stay where you are. We're gonna drop into a squat. So heel toe, feet wider, whatever distance feels comfortable to you. Just gonna drop, hips toward heels. Sometimes you do a little bit of movement when you get there, and then drop in. Elbows can come inside the thighs, palms together. Think about lifting the chest, tailbone dropping toward the floor. Breath in, lengthen the spine. Breath out, sink in the hips. Hands to the floor, take tailbone toward the ceiling. So we're in a mid stance forward fold. Turn your toes a tiny bit in and relax there. This one sometimes can come to the outside of the calves, sometimes where it attaches next to the knee. Breath in, a little bit of length in the spine, like a flat back. Exhale, let everything relax. Hands to thighs if you want. One vertebra at a time, roll up to standing. Deep breath in, arms come overhead. Exhale, baby back bend. Inhale, lift. Exhale, flat back to a forward fold. Breath in, hands to shins. Hands to the floor, bend in the knees. Step the right leg back. Drop that heel to the floor and push up warrior two. Deep breath in, think lengthen the spine. Exhale, think sink in the hips. And then reverse warrior. These fingertips are gonna come back toward the wall behind you as these fingertips reach toward your ankle. Exhale, sink. Deep breath in, up through warrior two. We're gonna take this forearm to the thigh, this hand either to the ceiling or reaching overhead. If it feels good for your hips, you're gonna take this hand to the floor, sink the hips lower, think straight line from these fingertips to that heel. This is the rudest thing I'm gonna have you do in the entire flow. Release this hand. This hand's gonna, if we're here, we're gonna drop it to the floor. Otherwise, it's gonna step forward, step that back foot halfway in, lift up, half moon. I've got hand on hip. You can also reach hand toward ceiling. Long breath in. Everything that's reaching, reach it even longer. Exhale, release. Take that back foot down. Hang in that forward fold. Couple breaths here. When you're ready, heel toe the feet wider. Drop back into that squat. This time we can have hands center pushing apart, or we can take hands outside the feet. Think about lifting the chest, dropping the hips, and pushing the hips wider. My dog is sleeping on the chair directly next to this camera, so if you hear a lot of sighs, it's Suki. Hands to the floor. Mid stance forward fold. Turn your toes in just a little. Knees as soft as you want them. Long breath in, roll up. Heel toe feet together. Deep breath in, arms overhead. Exhale, baby back bend. Inhale, lift. Exhale, flat back forward fold. Breath in, press up. Exhale, forward fold. This time we're gonna leave right foot planted, step left foot back. Drop that heel to the floor. Press up, warrior two. Thinking about rib cage being directly over the hips. Sometimes we kind of shift it forward. Fingertips reaching. Breath in, everything lifting up, lifts up even higher. Breath out, everything sinking down, sinks down even further. Inhale, reverse warrior. Breath in, get a lot of length. Exhale, revolve to extended warrior. Elbow can come to thigh, fingertips reaching towards ceiling or at an angle, or if your hips are in the mood, go ahead and drop it to the ground. See if you can keep weight in this front heel, not all like scrunched up in the toes. Deep breath in, get a lot of length. Exhale, get a lot of depth. Step that back foot halfway in. Shift fingertips forward. Open up half moon. Again, thinking about weight in the heel, not just in the toes. Breath in, get all that length. Reach through the fingers, reach through the toes. Exhale, release, forward fold. Settling in, knees can be bent if that feels comfortable. When we're ready, planting hands, walking both feet back to a down dog, little press in. Think about belly coming toward thighs. When you're ready, right leg's gonna sweep high, 3-leg dog, and then take that foot forward. So your knee is coming in between your hands, back foot's coming back, shift back into pigeon pose. I've got this shin on an angle, which is great. For me personally, it feels a little more comfortable if I open it up a little bit more to the side, but I'm not worried about it being parallel to the front of my mat. Breath in, think about lifting in the chest. Exhale, think about sinking in the shoulders. Think about sinking in the hips. If you prefer to take your half pigeon, forearms to the ground, or forehead to the ground, or hands forward, go for it. I like mine lifted, because then I feel a little more in that hip flexor, and it helps me sink more weight into this hip, but there's no preferred way to do it. It's why when you're in a yoga class, the instructor often doesn't do the poses along with you, because then the impression is the way the instructor is doing them is the right way, and there is no right way. The right way is what feels great inside your body. Hanging in this pigeon, we've got one more option. So if this is where you are, that's great. If you've got a yoga strap, you can pop around that back foot. If you need a little bit of assistance with this, you don't have to move into this. If it feels good, we're gonna take that back foot, bend it in, and grab it with the opposite hand. I'm gonna turn sideways, so this one makes a little more sense. But you stay where you are. So bending that back foot in, holding, and again, this could be a yoga strap around the foot that you're just holding from wherever. Think about squaring hips and chest. When I shifted, I lost a little bit of alignment, so I'm gonna pop back in. Slowly release. Tuck that back toe under. We're gonna do a little press up into down dog, and when you get there, you're just gonna walk the dog, which just means like alternate bending knees, alternate shifting into hips, getting some movement in there. You should feel pretty uneven right now. When you're ready, breath in, lifting left leg toward the ceiling. Exhale, sweeping it all the way forward, so knee comes between hands. Then we're adjusting once we get here. I like this knee to turn to the outside. I like to use this back foot to shift my hips back. We are not looking for this side to match the other side. Whatever feels good on this side, we're just gonna let it be its own side, because we don't match everything we do off of the yoga mat, so let each side just feel the way it needs to feel. Breath in, think about length. Breath out, think about depth. Maybe that's shoulders relaxing, maybe that's jaw relaxing, maybe that's hips sinking. My favorite way to shift further into pigeon is never to pick up this knee and turn it out, and definitely not to take this foot and shift it forward. My favorite way is to shift that back foot back. So if I tuck the toes under, put some weight in my hands, and I just lift up and shift back a little, and then drop back in, and then make whatever adjustments I want from there with the knee and the hip. That usually lets it settle in that glute and be less knee focused. Again, if you want this one on your forearms, go for it. Breath in, think about length. Everything that's lifting is lifting. Breath out, think about depth. Everything that's sinking is sinking. Again, If you're ready, feel free to stay here. If this side's not accessible the way it was on the other side, don't feel the need to match it. If you've got a yoga strap, you can pop it around that back foot. Otherwise, lots of weight in this front hand. Bend that back knee in, grab it with opposite hand. So we're thinking about pulling this heel toward the hips, like toward your butt, and then think about facing front and squaring up there rather than being completely twisted to the side. Usually you'll find one side feels a lot more open than the other side, and just let each side be what it is. When you're ready, slowly release. We're gonna take a lot of weight in the hands, tuck that back toe under. We're briefly gonna push back up through down dog. Walk the dog, alternate pressing through heels, let whatever needs to open. And then we're just gonna come to the knees and sit on the floor. It doesn't always need to be a nice transition. We're gonna take one leg straight, one knee bent. Deep breath in, turning toward that straight leg. You're gonna exhale and just lean forward. All I like for an objective in yoga poses is a feel. So my objective in this pose is to feel this behind this thigh, not behind the knee. My objective isn't forehead to knee or hands to toes. I'm just thinking, what pose, if I breathe in, get some length in the spine, breathe out, relax in, what version of this pose lets the back of my hamstring open up the most? I think sometimes in yoga we get a little too focused on like body part connections and objectives that have nothing to do with the feel, and I prefer to just focus on the feel. When we're ready, we're gonna push up. I'm gonna give you two different entrances for the next pose. We're staying on the same side. I'm just gonna turn this a little more open. So this knee comes open. It's more like straddle setup if I straighten this leg. Now, this hand is gonna come inside the knee, and the other hand is gonna reach up and over with a straight arm, like I'm trying to grab those toes. If that feels open, we're trying to open this side of the body here, go ahead and hang there. If you've got a little more depth to offer and you want a little bit more intensive an opening, you're just gonna grab that foot with this hand. I like to drop, you can stay straight arm, but I like to drop to this forearm. Really think about this elbow pushing into the leg, and then twist open from there. Thinking about this arm coming up and over the body rather than in front, even though I feel tight right now, this doesn't want to fully open up to the side. That's just what it is some days. We're going to breathe into it. Breath in, get length from the spine. Exhale, think about relaxing open. And release up. That was a quick hold because it did not feel good to me today. Do whatever kind of wiggling out you want to do. And then we're going to switch sides. Straight leg coming forward, bent knee in, deep breath in, turn toward that leg, and exhale, sink in. And again, same as I said on the other side, we are not focusing on how straight is this leg, is your forehead on your thigh. We're focusing on, can we open up behind the thigh and not really put a ton of stress behind the knee. I don't love when it all gets right in behind the knee, that's all that connective tissue. Breath in, get some length. Breath out, relax in. When you're ready, push up. And again, this side's gonna feel very different than it felt on the other side. We're gonna take this bent knee and turn it out to the side just a bit. I'm gonna start with, this might be where I end today, this one's not going so great for me. I'm gonna start with that hand inside my knee, and this arm looking straight forward is gonna reach up and then relax over like I want to touch those toes. And if we have more depth, again, I'm not sure I have more depth today, we're gonna grab that foot, I'm gonna drop to this forearm and really press that elbow into that thigh to get that rotation. A lot of shifting here. Go ahead and do whatever you have to do to make it feel open. Breath in, think about length, pressing your chest forward. As you exhale, think about that top shoulder rolling back a couple of degrees. When you're ready, unwind, push up. Let's get a little bit of movement. We're gonna do one final pose, just butterfly, taking bottoms of the feet together, knees out to the side. You're deciding what feels good here. For some of you, hands behind the hips, thinking about lifting the chest and thinking about dropping open the knees will feel great. For other people, hands holding on to the middle of your foot, breath in, think a lot of length in your spine, and lean forward a little will feel great. Sometimes we want the elbows on the inner thighs to open up there. And again, sometimes we can get very stuck in the objectives of this, of how close to the floor are these knees coming, or if we think this is a less intense stretch. But I always feel like whatever stretch lets you feel this the most, that's where you need to be for today, and it's gonna move every day. If you had a long run yesterday, or if you had a heavy set of sumo squats, it's gonna feel real different than if you've done yoga every day for the past week. Last time, breath in, get a little bit of length in the spine, like you're trying to reach your chest past your toes. And as you exhale, I'm gonna say relax in, and I really want you to think about that word, relax. When you're ready, slowly lift up. We're all gonna take our hands behind, feet are gonna come about hip distance. Just open up in the hips. If there's any other pose that you feel like you want to get to, maybe it's supine twist, maybe it's a shoulder stand, go ahead and go for it. The class is done for today. Thank you for joining me.